All right, buckle up, everybody, because today we are diving deep into, how should I put this? A pretty intense document.
Intense is one way to put it.
Yeah, we're talking about the Declaration of American Revival. It's the president's new plan, his roadmap, I guess, for the future of America.
Huge ambitions, right,
Yeah.
and lots of details for us to dig into.
Oh, yeah. This thing covers everything. Taxes, trade, social issues, even national security. And honestly, some of it is really surprising. Like, I did not see some of this stuff coming.
No kidding. I mean, right out the gate, he's claiming all these early wins, like just 43 days in office and already bragging about achievements that, according to him, totally eclipse what previous presidents did in like 4 years or even 8.
Right. Talk about setting the bar high.
Well, it definitely makes you wonder about his style, Is he really that efficient? Or is this just like a PR move to make him look super decisive?
Or maybe both. Who knows?
I guess we'll see. But yeah, I think it sets a pretty aggressive tone for sure.
Okay, so let's jump into the specifics, starting with the economy. The president's proposing these massive tax cuts across the board, like eliminating taxes on tips.
Tips, overtime pay.
Overtime, even Social Security benefits.
Yeah, it's a major overhaul of how we think about income and retirement, right? Like, what would that even look like in practice?
Exactly. And then there's this really interesting twist. He wants to make car loan interest tax deductible,
I saw that.
but only for cars made in America. What do you think about that?
I mean, it's a pretty clear attempt to boost the American car industry, right? But I do wonder about the unintended consequences. Will American car companies even be able to keep up with demand?
Good point.
What about foreign car makers? How will they react? And what about consumers? Will they be forced to buy American cars just to get that tax break?
Yeah, so many questions.
It's a fascinating idea for sure, but it's a total wild card in terms of how it'll actually play out.
Totally. And then on the trade front, we have this whole reciprocal tariff thing.
Yeah, that caught my eye too.
Basically, the president wants to match any tariffs that other countries impose on us. Tit for tat, as they say.
Right, and he specifically called out Mexico and Canada about fentanyl exports, which, doesn't exactly sound like the best way to start a negotiation.
No kidding. So is this a genius strategy to protect American interests? Or is it just going to lead to a global trade war? I guess time will tell.
Yeah, it's tough to say. I mean, on the one hand, it sends a strong message that we're not going to be pushed around. But on the other hand, starting a trade war with our neighbors, that's a risky move. And, who knows where that could lead.
A lot of uncertainty, for sure.
For sure. And that's not even getting into the social and cultural parts of his plan, which are, let's just say, equally bold.
Yeah, we're going to need a whole other deep dive just to unpack all of that. But stay tuned, everyone, because we will definitely be getting into those issues next time.
Buckle up for sure. This is just the beginning. So, we just scratched the surface of the economic stuff.
Yeah.
But we can't ignore, the huge cultural and social changes the president's pushing for.
Right. This plan goes way beyond just, dollars and cents. It's about reshaping American society, or at least that's how it feels.
Oh, yeah, totally. I mean, think about the stuff he's proposing. Banning DEI policies, getting rid of critical race theory in schools.
Banning transgender athletes from women's sports? Like, wow, these are some seriously hot-button issues.
Big time. And they're definitely going to spark some intense debate. Think about the impact on schools, for example. If you remove critical race theory from the curriculum, how does that change how history and social issues are taught?
Huge implications, right. And what about banning DEI policies? I mean, could
Yeah.
that lead to legal challenges, discrimination lawsuits?
Definitely possible.
Right.
And then you have the president's stance on transgender issues, specifically when it comes to kids. I mean, calling for a federal law to criminalize gender transition procedures for minors.
Yeah, that's a pretty bold move, no?
I mean, it's probably the most controversial element of the whole plan, right?
I think so.
And it would basically put the federal government right in the middle of this incredibly personal, sensitive issue.
Right.
Imagine the backlash from LGBTQ plus advocacy groups. I mean, this thing could spark years of legal battles over individual rights, parental authority.
Yeah, this is going to be huge.
No question. Okay, but let's shift gears for a second. Let's talk national security.
Okay, yeah. Because that whole thing about reclaiming the Panama Canal,
Yeah.
I mean, what was that about?
Right, that totally came out of left field.
It seems so random, you know?
Yeah.
Like, why bring that up now?
Well, for context, we need a little history lesson.
Okay, hit me.
The Panama Canal was under U.S. control for most of the 20th century.
Right, right.
But in 1999, we handed it over to Panama, like fully transferred control.
Got it.
So when the president's talking about treaty violations, it's kind of vague, Like,
Yeah.
what violations is he even talking about?
And how would we just, like, take it back?
Exactly. It's not clear at all what legal basis he would have to just seize control.
So, do you think he's serious about this?
Yeah.
Like, is this actually going to happen?
I mean, who knows with this guy, right? But honestly, it seems pretty far-fetched, and I can't even imagine the global reaction if the U.S. actually tried to pull this off.
Right, that would not go over well.
No, it would be seen as like a hostile act,
Yeah.
Like, imagine the damage to our relations with Panama, with other Latin American countries,
Right.
and it would raise serious questions about America's commitment to, like, international law, to agreements we've already made.
Yeah, huge diplomatic risks for sure.
Huge. And, the speech also touched on the war in Ukraine.
Oh, right?
The president claims that both Russia and Ukraine are ready for peace talks, and he says it's because of his leadership.
Interesting.
And he also criticized how much the U.S. has spent on Ukraine in the past, saying that Europe hasn't done enough.
Well, that's a whole other can of worms.
Right. It's such a complex situation, and it's hard to, like, assess the truth of those claims without more info. But his remarks definitely suggest a potential shift in U.S. foreign policy,
So,
It's like he wants to take a more hands-off approach to international conflicts
I see.
and put more emphasis on making our allies share the burden, financially and stuff.
Mhm.
It's a big change from, like, the traditional U.S. role as, like, the world's policeman.
So, big picture, what do you make of all this? We've covered so much ground today.
I know, right? It's like drinking from a fire hose.
Totally. But what stands out to you as the most significant takeaway from the president's vision?
I think what's most striking is this underlying theme of bold action, and a willingness to, like, challenge conventional thinking, even if it means ruffling some feathers.
Right, he's not afraid to shake things up.
Nope. He's proposing these radical changes to the economy, to social policy, to America's role in the world.
Yeah.
It's definitely a break from the past.
So are you saying this is like a turning point for the country?
Yeah.
It really does feel like we're at a crossroads, like this speech is a potential turning point for America,
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. It's like he's proposing a whole new paradigm, a new way of thinking about everything from the economy to our place in the world.
Right, and he keeps talking about this golden age that's just around the corner.
Right, but at the same time, there's no denying that there's a lot of a lot of potential for controversy, for things to go wrong.
Yeah, like how are these policies actually going to be implemented?
Exactly. And what about unintended consequences? There are always unintended consequences.
And how are other countries going to react to this more assertive, like, America First approach?
So many questions, right. And I think those are the questions that we all need to be thinking about as we watch this all unfold.
So, to our listeners out there, what do you think? What parts of this vision, this plan, stand out to you? What are you excited about? What are you worried about?
Because this is a conversation that affects all of us, right? It's about the future of our country, the future of our world.
And it's important to engage with these ideas, to think critically about what they mean for our lives, for our communities.
This speech, it's just the beginning. Now comes the hard part, the debates, the challenges, the actual work of turning these ideas into reality.
And we'll be here every step of the way to break it all down for you, to help you make sense of it all.
So stay tuned, stay engaged, and keep those questions coming. This is going to be one wild ride.
And that's a wrap for today's deep dive. Thanks for joining us, everyone. We'll see you next time.